When the billionaire saw her ex walk in with another woman, she knew she had two choices: run or pretend everything was fine. But then a quiet single dad offered his hand, and everything changed. If you want to see how a woman who built empires learned what truly matters from a man raising a daughter alone, stay until the end. Hit that like button and comment which city you're watching from so I can see how far this story travels. The restaurant smelled like expensive cologne and ambition. Evelyn Carter stood near the bar at Harlow's, her fingers wrapped around a wine glass she hadn't touched in 20 minutes. The Chardonnay had gone warm. She didn't care. Around her, Chicago's elite laughed too loud, clinked glasses too hard, celebrated deals that would be forgotten by Monday. She used to love these events, the energy, the connections, the unspoken competition happening beneath every handshake and smile. Tonight, she just wanted to leave. "Evelyn, there you are." Margaret Chen, a tech investor Evelyn barely knew, swooped in with that aggressive friendliness wealthy people used when they wanted something. "I've been meaning to talk to you about your AI division. Are you still looking for Series B partners?" "Not at the moment," Evelyn said, her voice polite but distant. Margaret didn't take the hint. She launched into a pitch about her firm's portfolio, dropping names like breadcrumbs, waiting for Evelyn to bite. But Evelyn had stopped listening. Her attention had snagged on something across the room. A laugh. Deep. Confident. Familiar. Her stomach dropped. Ryan Brooks had just walked through the door. He looked exactly the same. Tall, sharp-featured, wearing that charcoal suit he knew made him look good. His dark hair was styled the way it always was, calculated casualness that probably took 15 minutes. And wrapped around his arm was a woman Evelyn didn't recognize. Blonde, young, laughing at something he'd just said. Evelyn's chest tightened. Margaret was still talking. "And I think with your distribution network, we could really—" "Excuse me," Evelyn said, cutting her off mid-sentence. She didn't wait for a response. She turned and walked toward the far end of the bar, putting as much distance between herself and Ryan as the room allowed. This was ridiculous. She was 30 years old, a billionaire, the founder and CEO of Carter Technologies, a company that employed over 2,000 people across 4 states. She'd been featured in Forbes, Bloomberg, and Time. She'd testified before Congress about data privacy. She'd stared down hostile board members, aggressive investors, and journalists trying to tear her down. But seeing her ex-boyfriend walk into a restaurant with another woman made her feel like she was 22 again. Small. Forgettable. Not enough. She hated it. 11 months. It had been 11 months since Ryan ended things. 11 months since he'd sat across from her at that coffee shop on Clark Street and said the words that still echoed in her head sometimes, late at night when she couldn't sleep. "I'm not ready for something this serious." That's what he'd said. Not ready. As if their year and a half together had been some kind of trial run he'd decided to quit. As if she'd been asking for too much by wanting him to actually show up, to be present, to treat their relationship like it mattered. 2 months later, she'd seen his engagement announcement on LinkedIn. To someone else. So apparently he'd been ready. Just not for her. Evelyn set her wine glass down on the bar harder than she meant to. The bartender glanced over, but she waved him off. She didn't need another drink. She needed to leave. To get out of this room before Ryan saw her standing here alone like some tragic figure from a bad romance novel. But leaving meant walking past him. And walking past him meant risking eye contact. A conversation, the humiliation of him seeing that she was still bothered. She pulled out her phone, pretending to check messages, buying herself time to think. "You look like you'd rather disappear than stay another minute." The voice came from her left. Male, calm, unfamiliar. Evelyn turned. The man standing beside her wasn't someone she recognized, which was strange. She usually knew everyone at these events. He was tall, maybe 6'1", with dark brown hair that was slightly too long to be corporate, and eyes that looked tired but kind. He wore a navy suit that fit well but wasn't custom-tailored. No flashy watch, no designer shoes. He didn't look like he belonged here. "I'm sorry," Evelyn said. He smiled, but it wasn't the practiced smile she was used to from men at these gatherings. It was quieter. Real. "You've been standing here for 10 minutes, looking like you're planning an escape route. I figured I'd confirm my theory." Evelyn felt herself bristle slightly. "I'm fine." "Sure," he said. There was no challenge in his tone, no judgment, just quiet observation. You're also lying. She should have been offended. Instead, she found herself almost laughing. That's pretty presumptuous for someone I've never met. Lucas Reed, he said, extending his hand. I work for your company. Structural Engineering Division. We're handling the River North Expansion Project. Evelyn shook his hand. His grip was firm, but not aggressive. You're one of mine? Technically, yes, though I doubt you've ever seen me before. I don't usually come to these things. Why'd you come tonight? Lucas shrugged. My boss insisted, said it was good for visibility. He glanced around the room. Turns out, I'm terrible at visibility. Despite everything, Evelyn smiled. There was something refreshing about his honesty. Most people spent these events performing, networking, angling. Lucas seemed like he'd rather be anywhere else, which made him the most interesting person she'd talked to all night. So what gave me away? Evelyn asked. How'd you know I wanted to leave? Body language, Lucas said. You're standing with your shoulders turned toward the exit. Your weight's on your back foot, like you're ready to move. And you've checked your phone 4 times in the last 3 minutes without actually reading anything. Evelyn raised an eyebrow. You're observant. Comes with the job. Structural engineers spend a lot of time watching how things hold up under pressure. He paused. People included. There was something in the way he said it. Not flirtatious, not trying to impress her. Just honest. It caught her off guard. Across the room, Ryan's laugh rang out again. Evelyn's jaw tightened involuntarily. Lucas followed her gaze, then looked back at her. His expression didn't change, but something in his eyes shifted. Understanding, maybe. X? He asked quietly. Evelyn hesitated, then nodded. Lucas didn't ask for details. Didn't pry. He just stood there beside her, a quiet presence in a room full of noise. Then, after a moment, he did something unexpected. He extended his hand toward her. Dance with me. Evelyn blinked. What? Dance with me, Lucas repeated. His voice was steady, certain. There's barely any music and no dance floor, but I think we can make it work. Why would we? Because, Lucas said, cutting her off gently, right now you're standing here trying not to look at him, and he keeps glancing over here trying to see if you're looking, and both of you are stuck in this weird loop that's making you miserable. Evelyn opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. He wasn't wrong. So instead, Lucas continued, we go over by the windows, we pretend there's music, and you spend the next 10 minutes not caring what he thinks. Deal? It was absurd. There was no music, no dance floor, just a crowded restaurant full of people who would definitely notice if she started slow dancing with a structural engineer nobody knew. But something in Lucas's expression made her trust him. Not the polished confidence of men who expected her to say yes. Just quiet certainty. Like he'd already decided this was the right thing to do, and now he was waiting for her to catch up. Okay, Evelyn heard herself say. Lucas smiled, that same genuine smile from before, and led her toward the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Chicago. The city stretched out below them, all glittering lights and dark sky. Someone had dimmed the restaurant lighting for ambiance, and the faint sound of piano music drifted from the speakers, barely audible beneath the conversation. Lucas placed one hand lightly on her waist, took her other hand in his, and began to sway. Slowly, gently, like they had all the time in the world. Evelyn hadn't slow danced in years, maybe not since college. It felt strange at first, being this close to someone she'd just met, moving to music that barely existed. But Lucas moved with easy confidence, no hesitation, no performance, just presence. You're good at this, Evelyn said quietly. My wife loved to dance, Lucas said. Then he paused. My late wife. Evelyn's breath caught. I'm sorry. It's been 3 years, Lucas said. His voice was even, but Evelyn heard the weight beneath it. Car accident. She was picking up our daughter from a birthday party. Your daughter? She's fine. Emma. She's 8 now, wasn't in the car. Lucas's grip on Evelyn's hand tightened slightly, then relaxed. My wife died on impact. Evelyn didn't know what to say. Every condolence felt hollow, so she just stayed quiet, let him lead, gave him space to continue or not. Emma asks about her sometimes, Lucas said after a moment. What she was like, what we used to do together. I try to remember the good things, the dancing, the Sunday mornings, the way she'd sing off key in the shower and not care. She sounds wonderful, Evelyn said softly. She was. Lucas met her eyes. But she's gone. And I'm still here. And Emma needs a father who shows up, not one who's stuck in the past. The honesty of it hit Evelyn harder than she expected. There was no self-pity in his voice, no bitterness, just acceptance, the kind that only came from surviving something that should have broken you. They swayed in silence for a while. Around them, the restaurant hummed with conversation, but it felt distant, separate. "Can I ask you something?" Evelyn said finally. "Sure." "Why did you really ask me to dance?" Lucas considered the question. "Because you looked like someone who needed a reason to stop pretending." Evelyn felt something crack open in her chest. "What makes you think I'm pretending?" "Because," Lucas said, "you're standing in a room full of people who think you have everything figured out. And I've seen that look before. On my own face. In the mirror. After Sarah died." "What look?" "The one that says you're doing fine. You're handling it. You're strong." Lucas's voice was gentle. "Even when you're not." Evelyn's throat tightened. She tried to swallow it down, to pull herself together, but the words came out before she could stop them. "He told me he wasn't ready for commitment," she said quietly. "Ryan, my ex, he said he needed space, that he wasn't in a place for something serious." Lucas stayed quiet, listening. 2 months later, he was engaged to someone else. Evelyn's voice cracked slightly. "So I guess he was ready. Just not for me." "That wasn't about you," Lucas said immediately. "How do you know?" "Because," Lucas said, meeting her eyes, "people who walk away from something real don't suddenly become ready 2 months later. They just find something easier, something that doesn't challenge them." Evelyn wanted to believe him, but the doubt had lived in her head for 11 months. It had roots. "Maybe I was too much," she said. "Too focused on work, too busy, too—" "Stop," Lucas said, his voice firm but kind. "You're not too anything. You're exactly who you're supposed to be. And if he couldn't handle that, that's his loss, not yours." Across the room, Ryan laughed again. Evelyn's instinct was to look, to check if he was watching, but Lucas's hand on her waist anchored her. "He's looking over here," Lucas said quietly. "Is he?" "Yeah, every couple of minutes, like he's trying to figure out who I am." Evelyn felt a flicker of satisfaction, then immediately felt guilty about it. "I shouldn't care." "But you do," Lucas said. "And that's okay. Caring doesn't make you weak. It makes you human." They swayed through another verse of piano music. Evelyn found herself relaxing into the rhythm, into the steadiness of Lucas's presence. He didn't fill the silence with empty reassurances or try to fix her pain. He just stayed, present, real. "Can I tell you something?" Lucas said after a while. "Sure. When Sarah died, I thought I'd never feel normal again. Like I'd spend the rest of my life pretending to be okay for Emma's sake." He paused. "And for a long time, that's exactly what I did. I went through the motions, work, dinner, bedtime stories. But inside, I felt like I was just hollow." "What changed?" Evelyn asked. Lucas smiled faintly. "Time, mostly. And therapy. And Emma forcing me to show up even when I didn't want to." He looked at Evelyn. "But the biggest thing was realizing that healing doesn't mean forgetting. It just means learning to carry it differently." Evelyn felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. She blinked them back. "I don't know if I know how to do that." "You will," Lucas said. "You're stronger than you think." "You don't know me." "I know enough." Lucas's voice was certain. "You built a billion-dollar company from scratch. You're standing in a room full of people who'd kill for 5 minutes of your time. And you're still here, still showing up, even when it hurts. That's not weakness. That's strength." Evelyn didn't trust herself to speak, so she just nodded. They danced until the song ended, or until the faint piano music faded into something else. Lucas stepped back, let go of her hand, but didn't move away. "Thank you," Evelyn said quietly. "Any time. I mean it. I don't usually—" She hesitated. "I don't usually let people see me like this." "Like what?" "Not fine," Lucas smiled. "Maybe that's the problem." Before Evelyn could respond, a voice interrupted them. "Evelyn?" She turned. Ryan stood a few feet away, hands in his pockets, that familiar half-smile on his face. The one he used when he wanted something but didn't want to seem like he was asking. "Hey," he said, glancing between her and Lucas. "I didn't know you were going to be here." Evelyn's heart hammered. 11 months of imagined conversations flooded her brain. All the things she'd wanted to say, the anger, the questions, the hurt. But standing there with Lucas beside her, she realized something. She didn't want to have any of those conversations. "Ryan," she said evenly, "Huh? How are you?" "Good. Yeah, really good." He shifted his weight. "You look great." "Thanks." An awkward silence settled. Ryan glanced at Lucas again, clearly waiting for an introduction. When none came, he extended his hand. "Ryan Brooks." "Lucas Reed," Lucas said, shaking his hand once and letting go. Ryan's eyes narrowed slightly, like he was trying to place Lucas in the hierarchy of wealth and influence. When he couldn't, his smile tightened. "So how do you two know each other?" Ryan asked. "We work together," Evelyn said. It wasn't technically a lie. "Oh, cool." Ryan's tone suggested it was anything but cool. He turned back to Evelyn. "I've been meaning to reach out, see how you're doing." "I'm fine," Evelyn said. "Good, that's good." Ryan nodded too many times. "You're still running Carter Tech?" It was such a ridiculous question that Evelyn almost laughed, as if she'd somehow stopped being CEO of the company she founded. "Yes, that's great. Really great. I saw the quarterly report. Impressive growth." "Thanks." Another silence. Ryan rocked back on his heels. "So, I wanted to say about how things ended between us." "Don't," Evelyn said. Ryan blinked. "What?" "Don't apologize. Don't explain. It's fine." "I just thought, Ryan," Evelyn's voice was calm but firm. "It's been almost a year. You've moved on. I've moved on. There's nothing to talk about." Ryan looked like he'd been slapped. Beside Evelyn, Lucas stayed perfectly still, not inserting himself into the conversation but not leaving either. "Right," Ryan said finally. "Yeah, of course." He forced a smile. "Well, it was good seeing you." "You too." Ryan nodded at Lucas, then walked away. Evelyn watched him return to the blonde woman across the room, who immediately leaned in to ask him something. Evelyn waited for the hurt to hit. The old ache. The what-ifs. But it didn't come. Instead, she felt nothing. Or maybe not nothing, maybe just neutrality. Ryan wasn't a wound anymore. He was just a person she used to know. "You okay?" Lucas asked quietly. Evelyn turned to him. "Yeah, actually, I think I am." Lucas smiled. "Good." "I should probably go," Evelyn said, "before anyone else tries to pitch me or apologize to me." "Want company?" Evelyn paused. "To the parking garage?" "Unless you've got a helicopter on the roof." She laughed. Actually, laughed. "No helicopter." "Then yeah, parking garage." They walked through the restaurant together, Evelyn nodding politely at people who called her name but not stopping to chat. Lucas stayed beside her, hands in his pockets, unbothered by the attention. Outside, the November air hit them like a wall. Cold, sharp. Evelyn pulled her coat tighter. "Chicago in November," Lucas said. "Romantic. Freezing." That too. They walked down the block toward the parking garage, their breath visible in the streetlight. The city hummed around them, cars, distant sirens, the muffled bass from a bar down the street. "Can I ask you something?" Evelyn said. "Sure." "Why were you really at that event tonight? Engineers don't usually show up to fundraisers." Lucas smiled. "My boss thinks I'm too isolated. Thinks I should network more, put myself out there." He shrugged. "I mostly just wanted to get home to Emma." "How long have you been raising her alone?" 3 years. Since Sarah died. That must be hard." "Some days," Lucas admitted. "But Emma makes it worth it. She's everything." There was something in the way he said it, simple, honest, without the usual parental exaggeration, that made Evelyn believe him. "Do you ever think about dating again?" Evelyn asked, then immediately regretted it. "Sorry, that's too personal." "It's okay," Lucas said. "And yeah, sometimes. But it's complicated. Emma comes first, and most people don't want to sign up for a widowed single dad with an 8-year-old. Their loss," Evelyn said. Lucas glanced at her, surprised, then smiled. Thanks. They reached the parking garage entrance. Evelyn's car was on the third level. Lucas's was apparently on the second. This is me, Evelyn said, gesturing toward the stairwell. Yeah. Lucas didn't move to leave. An odd silence settled between them. Not uncomfortable, just uncertain, like they'd both realized the evening was ending and neither of them wanted it to. Can I ask you something? Lucas said finally. Sure. Would you want to get coffee sometime? Evelyn's heart did something strange. A flutter. Hope, maybe. Or fear. She wasn't sure which. Coffee? She repeated. Yeah, coffee. The beverage. Lucas smiled. Unless you're more of a tea person, I can work with that too. Why? Why coffee? Or why with you? Both. Lucas considered the question. Coffee because it's low pressure, doesn't have the weight of dinner. And with you because I'd like to know you better. Without the fundraiser. Without your ex glaring from across the room. Just you. Evelyn felt something shift in her chest, something she hadn't felt in a long time. Interest. Not the shallow kind she got from men who wanted access or status. Real interest. The kind that came from being seen. Okay, she said. Lucas's eyebrows lifted. Yeah? Yeah. Tomorrow? Evelyn laughed. You don't waste time. Single dad, 8-year-old, free time is a rare commodity. Tomorrow works, Evelyn said. There's a place on Randolph I like, 2:45. You know it? I'll find it. 10 a.m.? Perfect. They stood there another moment, neither moving. Then Lucas stepped back, smiled that quiet, genuine smile, and headed toward the stairwell. Lucas? Evelyn called. He turned. Thank you, for tonight. You already said that. I know, but I mean it. Lucas nodded. See you tomorrow, Evelyn. Then he was gone. Evelyn stood alone in the parking garage entrance, the cold Chicago wind biting at her face. She should have felt ridiculous, getting excited about coffee with a man she barely knew, a structural engineer who lived in a completely different world than hers. But she didn't feel ridiculous. She felt awake. For the first time in 11 months, she felt like something other than her company, her reputation, or her broken heart. She felt like herself. Evelyn walked to her car, slid into the driver's seat, and sat there for a moment, hands on the steering wheel, staring at nothing. Her phone buzzed. A text from Margaret Chen, still trying to pitch her Series B fund. Evelyn deleted it without reading. Then she pulled out of the garage and drove through downtown Chicago, past the lights and the noise and the restaurants full of people performing their lives for each other. Tomorrow, she'd meet Lucas for coffee. Tomorrow, maybe things would be different. Tonight, for the first time in almost a year, that felt like enough. Evelyn woke up at 5:30 the next morning, which was normal. What wasn't normal was the fact that she'd actually slept through the night. No waking up at 2 a.m. to check emails. No lying in the dark replaying conversations she wished she'd handled differently. No staring at the ceiling wondering if Ryan was happy with his new fiancé and why that still bothered her. She'd just slept. She made coffee in her penthouse kitchen, standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked Lake Michigan. The sun was just starting to rise, turning the water from black to deep blue to something almost silver. Normally, she'd spend this time reviewing quarterly reports or prepping for board meetings. Instead, she stood there holding her mug, thinking about coffee at 10 a.m., with a man who didn't care that she was a billionaire. Her phone buzzed. A text from her assistant, Priya. Board meeting moved to 11. Thompson wants to discuss the merger again. Evelyn checked the time. 9:45. She was supposed to meet Lucas in 15 minutes. She typed back quickly. Tell Thompson I'll be there by 11:30, non-negotiable. Priya responded immediately. He's not going to like that. He'll survive. Evelyn grabbed her coat and headed out. 2:45 was a small coffee shop tucked between a bookstore and a dry cleaner on Randolph. Nothing fancy. No Instagram-worthy latte art or exposed brick walls. Just good coffee and tables that wobbled slightly when you set your cup down. Lucas was already there when Evelyn walked in. He sat at a corner table near the window, wearing jeans and a gray Henley shirt, looking nothing like the men she usually spent time with. No suit, no watch that cost more than most people's cars. Just a guy drinking black coffee and reading something on his phone. He looked up when she approached and smiled. "You made it." "Sorry I'm late," Evelyn said, sliding into the chair across from him. "Traffic was worse than I thought." "You're not late. I'm early." Habit from having an 8-year-old who needs to be at school by 7:45. A server came over, a college-aged kid with a name tag that said Ben. Lucas ordered another black coffee. Evelyn asked for a cappuccino. When Ben left, silence settled over the table. Not uncomfortable, exactly, just new. Like they were both trying to figure out how to start. "So," Lucas said finally, "how'd the rest of your night go?" "Quiet. I went home. Slept." Evelyn paused. "Actually slept, which was weird." "Weird good or weird bad?" "Good, I think." Evelyn wrapped her hands around the mug Ben had just set down. "I haven't slept through the night in months." Lucas nodded slowly. "Heartbreak messes with sleep." "Did it for you, after your wife?" "Yeah, for about a year, I'd wake up around 3 a.m. and just lie there, thinking about all the things I should have said or done differently." "Like what?" Lucas looked down at his coffee. "Like maybe if I'd left work earlier that day, I could have picked Emma up instead. Sarah wouldn't have been on the road. She'd still be here." Evelyn's chest tightened. "That's not your fault." "I know." Lucas's voice was quiet. "Took me a long time to believe it, though." Ben returned with Evelyn's cappuccino. She took a sip, buying herself time to figure out what to say. But Lucas spoke first. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Last night, when your ex came over, you handled it better than I expected." Evelyn raised an eyebrow. "What were you expecting?" "I don't know. More reaction, maybe? Anger or sadness or something." Lucas tilted his head slightly. "But you were just calm, like you'd already made peace with it." "I don't know if I'd call it peace," Evelyn said. "More like exhaustion. I spent 11 months being angry, being hurt, wondering what I did wrong. And then last night, seeing him with her, I just didn't care anymore." "That's good, isn't it?" "I think so, but it's also kind of sad." "Why?" Evelyn stared into her cappuccino. "Because I spent a year and a half with someone I thought I loved, and now I look at him and feel nothing, like it never mattered." "Maybe it mattered then," Lucas said. "Just not now." Evelyn looked up at him. "That's very zen." Lucas smiled. "I've had a lot of therapy." She laughed. Actually laughed. It felt good. They talked for 20 minutes about nothing important. Lucas told her about Emma's obsession with marine biology and how their apartment was slowly filling up with library books about octopuses. Evelyn told him about the time she almost dropped out of college to join a startup that went bankrupt 3 months later. It was easy, comfortable, like talking to someone she'd known for years instead of less than 24 hours. Then Lucas's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and frowned. "Everything okay?" Evelyn asked. "Yeah, just my sister. She's supposed to pick Emma up from school today, but she's stuck in a meeting." He typed something back quickly. "I need to figure out backup." "What time does school get out?" 3:15. Evelyn checked her watch. It was already 10:30. Her board meeting started at 11. Or 11:30, if Thompson believed her bluff. Either way, she'd be stuck there until at least 1. "What about a babysitter?" she asked. "Emma's regular sitter is out of town," Lucas said, still typing. "And my neighbor who usually helps is at work." "Could you leave early from work, I mean?" Lucas looked up at her. "I could, but I'm in the middle of structural calculations for the River North project. If I leave now, we're behind schedule, which means your company loses money." "I don't care about the money." "You should. It's your company." Evelyn felt something warm in her chest. Not attraction exactly. Respect, maybe. Lucas wasn't trying to impress her or tell her what she wanted to hear. He was just being honest. "Figure it out?" she asked. "Working on it." Evelyn's phone buzzed. A text from Priya. "Thompson's asking if you're coming. Should I stall?" Evelyn typed back. "Tell him I'll be there at 11:30. Start without me if necessary." She looked up at Lucas. "Can I ask you something personal?" "Sure." "Do you ever resent it, being a single parent?" Lucas set his phone down. Sometimes. Not Emma. Never Emma. But the situation, yeah. I resent that she doesn't have a mom, that I can't just call Sarah and ask her what to do when Emma has a nightmare or refuses to eat anything except mac and cheese for a week straight. Does Emma remember her? A little. She was 5 when Sarah died. She remembers the big things, how Sarah used to braid her hair before school, the songs she'd sing at bedtime. But the details are fading. Lucas's jaw tightened slightly, and I hate that. I hate that Emma's going to grow up without those memories. You're keeping them alive, Evelyn said quietly, by being here, by showing up. Yeah, well, showing up is the bare minimum. No, it's not, trust me. Lucas met her eyes. There was something there, a flicker of understanding that went both ways. His phone buzzed again. He glanced at it and sighed. My sister found someone. Crisis averted. Good. Sorry, I didn't mean to spend our coffee talking about childcare logistics. I don't mind. Still, not exactly romantic. Evelyn felt her pulse quicken. Is that what this is? Romance? Lucas leaned back in his chair, a small smile playing at his lips. I don't know. What would you call it? Coffee. Just coffee? Maybe coffee with potential. I can work with that. Evelyn's phone buzzed again. Another text from Priya. Thompson's pissed, says if you're not here by 11:30, he's walking. Evelyn exhaled slowly. I have to go. Board meeting? How'd you know? You've checked your phone 4 times in the last 10 minutes, and you have that look. What look? The one people get when they're about to walk into a fight they don't want to have. Evelyn laughed despite herself. You're annoyingly perceptive. Comes with the territory. She stood, pulling her coat on. Lucas stood too. Can I see you again? He asked. Evelyn paused. The smart thing would be to say no, to keep this simple. 1 coffee, a nice moment, nothing more. But standing there, looking at Lucas with his tired eyes and his honest face, the smart thing felt boring. Yes, she said. When? I don't know. My schedule's insane this week. Next week? Maybe. Probably. Lucas smiled. I'll take a probably. Evelyn turned to leave, then stopped. Lucas? Yeah? Thank you for last night, for this morning, for just being normal. Anytime. She walked out of the coffee shop and into the cold November air. Her car was parked 2 blocks away. She speed-walked, checking her phone, already mentally preparing for the board meeting she was about to walk into 20 minutes late. But beneath the stress and the scheduling and the endless list of things she needed to handle, there was something else. Anticipation. The board meeting was exactly as painful as Evelyn expected. Thompson, a 63-year-old venture capitalist who'd been on Carter Tech's board since the Series A round, spent 45 minutes explaining why the merger with Apex Industries was a bad idea. Not because of financials or market positioning, but because he didn't like the CEO. Harrison's a cowboy, Thompson said, pacing in front of the conference room windows. He makes decisions based on gut feeling, not data. Harrison's grown Apex from a $10 million startup to a $300 million company in 6 years, Evelyn countered. I'd say his gut is pretty reliable. That's not the point. Then what is the point, Robert? Thompson stopped pacing. The point is that you're rushing this. We should take another quarter to evaluate. Run more projections. We've been evaluating for 6 months. The projections are solid. The merger makes sense. For you, maybe. Evelyn felt her jaw tighten. What's that supposed to mean? Thompson sat down across from her. The rest of the board, 6 other people who'd been silent for most of this, watched the exchange like spectators at a tennis match. It means, Thompson said slowly, that you've been distracted lately, and when you're distracted, you make impulsive decisions. The room went silent. Evelyn set her pen down carefully. I'm sorry, are you questioning my judgment? I'm questioning your focus. My focus has built this company into a $2.4 billion enterprise, so maybe you should trust it. Thompson leaned forward. Evelyn, I respect what you've built. I do. But you can't expect us to rubber stamp a $300 million acquisition just because you're the founder. I'm not asking you to rubber stamp anything. I'm asking you to do your job, which is to evaluate opportunities based on merit, not personal bias. This isn't personal, isn't it? Thompson's face reddened. Before he could respond, Claire Martinez, the CFO and Evelyn's closest ally on the board, cut in. Why don't we table this discussion until next week, Claire said calmly. Give everyone time to review the updated projections. Come back with fresh eyes. Thompson looked like he wanted to argue, but Claire had a way of diffusing tension that even he couldn't fight. Fine, he said finally. Next week. The meeting adjourned. People filed out, making small talk, avoiding eye contact with Evelyn. Thompson left without saying goodbye. Claire lingered behind. You okay? She asked. Evelyn rubbed her temples. Fantastic. He's being an ass. He's always an ass. Fair point. Claire sat down next to her. But he's not entirely wrong. Evelyn looked up sharply. Excuse me? You have been distracted lately, Claire said gently. I'm not saying the merger's a bad idea. I actually think it's brilliant. But you've been off your game, missing details, delegating more than usual. I've been busy. You're always busy. But this is different, Claire paused. Is everything okay, outside of work? Evelyn wanted to say yes, to brush it off, to keep her personal life separate from the business, the way she always had. But she was tired of pretending. I had coffee with someone this morning, Evelyn said quietly. Claire's eyebrows shot up. A man? Yes. Who? A structural engineer from our River North team. Evelyn Carter is dating an engineer? I'm not dating him. We just had coffee. And I don't know. It was nice. Easy. He didn't treat me like a CEO or a billionaire. He just treated me like a person. Claire smiled. That's good, right? I think so, but it's also terrifying. Why? Because the last time I let someone in, it didn't end well. Claire's expression softened. Ryan was an idiot. You know that. Knowing it and believing it are different things. So what are you going to do? Evelyn stared at the empty conference room. I have no idea. Claire stood, gathering her things. For what it's worth, I think you should see him again. Life's too short to let fear make your decisions. When did you become a therapist? I have 3 teenagers. Comes with the territory. Claire headed for the door, then paused. Oh, and Evelyn. Yeah? Thompson's wrong. You're not distracted. You're just finally paying attention to something other than work. There's a difference. The rest of the week passed in a blur of meetings, phone calls, and damage control. The merger talks with Apex stalled. 2 senior engineers quit to join a competitor. A bug in their latest software update caused a minor PR nightmare that required Evelyn to personally call 3 different journalists to smooth things over. By Friday afternoon, she was exhausted. She sat in her office on the 42nd floor of the Carter Tech building, staring at her computer screen without really seeing it. Her assistant had gone home an hour ago. Most of the building was empty. Her phone buzzed, a text from a number she didn't recognize. This is Lucas. Got your number from the company directory. Hope that's not weird. Emma wants to know if octopuses have personalities. I told her you'd probably know. Evelyn smiled despite her exhaustion. She typed back. Not a weird. And yes, octopuses absolutely have personalities. Some are shy, some are aggressive, some are curious. Tell Emma to look up Inky the octopus, escaped from an aquarium in New Zealand by squeezing through a drain pipe. 3 dots appeared. Then, Emma says that's the coolest thing she's ever heard. She also wants to know if you'd like to meet her octopus collection. Direct quote, not the real kind, the stuffed animal kind. Evelyn's heart did something strange. When? Tomorrow? We're going to the aquarium. She's been begging me to take her for weeks. Thought you might want to join. Evelyn checked her calendar. She had brunch with investors at 10, a strategy session with Claire at 1, a fundraiser dinner at 7. She canceled all of it. What time? Noon? Meet us at the entrance? I'll be there. The Shed Aquarium sat on the edge of Lake Michigan like a monument to everything humans didn't understand about the ocean. Evelyn arrived at 11:55, wearing jeans and a sweater instead of her usual designer suits. She felt weirdly exposed, like she'd forgotten part of her armor. Lucas and Emma were waiting near the entrance. Emma looked exactly like Lucas had described. 8 years old, dark hair and 2 messy braids, wearing a shirt with a cartoon octopus on it. She held Lucas's hand, bouncing slightly on her toes. When Emma saw Evelyn approaching, she whispered something to Lucas. He smiled and nodded. Hi, Evelyn said, stopping a few feet away. Hi, Lucas said. Evelyn, this is Emma. Emma, this is Evelyn. Emma stared at her with the unfiltered intensity only kids could manage. Dad says you know about octopuses. A little. Do you know they have 3 hearts? I do. And blue blood? Yep. Emma's eyes widened. Do you have a favorite kind? Evelyn crouched down to Emma's level. Giant Pacific octopus. They're the biggest species. Some of them can weigh over 100 pounds. That's so cool, Emma breathed. Lucas smiled. Okay, marine biologist in training, let's go inside before Evelyn changes her mind about spending the afternoon with us. They bought tickets and headed in. The aquarium was crowded. Families, school groups, couples taking selfies in front of the jellyfish tanks. Emma dragged them straight to the octopus exhibit, talking non-stop about everything she'd learned from library books. Evelyn found herself relaxing in a way she hadn't in months, maybe years. There was something about being surrounded by kids shrieking over seahorses and parents trying to wrangle strollers that made her billion-dollar problems feel distant. At the octopus tank, Emma pressed her face against the glass, watching a giant Pacific octopus move slowly across the rocks. It's changing color, Emma whispered. They do that to camouflage, Evelyn said, or to communicate. What's it saying? I don't know. Maybe leave me alone. I'm trying to nap. Emma giggled. Lucas stood beside Evelyn, hands in his pockets. You're good with kids. I'm really not. Emma likes you. That's saying something. She usually hates meeting new people. Why? Lucas's expression shifted. Kids at school can be mean. They ask about her mom. Why she doesn't have one. Emma's learned to be careful about who she trusts. Evelyn's chest tightened. That's awful. Yeah, but she's strong. Stronger than I was at her age. They watched Emma for a moment. She'd moved on to reading the information placard, mouthing the words to herself. Can I ask you something? Lucas said quietly. Sure. Why'd you cancel your Saturday for this? Evelyn hesitated. I had meetings, but they didn't seem important. Meetings with a billionaire are always important. Not always. Lucas turned to look at her. What are you doing here, Evelyn? What do you mean? I mean, you could be anywhere right now, doing anything, but you're at an aquarium with a single dad and his 8-year-old. He paused. Why? Evelyn met his eyes. Because I wanted to be here. Just here? Or here with us? Both. Something passed between them. Not quite a confession, but close. Emma ran back over, grabbing Lucas's hand. Can we see the dolphins? Absolutely. They spent the next 2 hours wandering through exhibits. Emma asked 1,000 questions. Lucas answered most of them with patience Evelyn didn't know was possible, and Evelyn found herself laughing more than she had in months. At the dolphin show, Emma sat between them, gripping the edge of her seat every time a dolphin jumped. When the show ended, she turned to Evelyn with shining eyes. That was the best day ever. Evelyn's throat tightened. Yeah, it really was. They grabbed lunch at the aquarium cafe, overpriced sandwiches and lukewarm fries that somehow tasted perfect. Emma told them about her best friend Zoe, who was also obsessed with marine biology. Lucas told a story about the time Emma tried to bring home a dead fish she'd found at the beach because she wanted to study it. Evelyn couldn't remember the last time she'd felt this present, this alive. After lunch, Emma started to fade. The adrenaline from the aquarium was wearing off, and she leaned against Lucas's side, rubbing her eyes. Someone's tired, Lucas said gently. I'm not tired, Emma mumbled, yawning. Of course not. They walked back to the parking lot together. Emma held Lucas's hand with one hand and, unexpectedly, reached for Evelyn's with the other. Evelyn's heart stuttered. She glanced at Lucas, who just smiled. When they reached Evelyn's car, Emma let go reluctantly. Will you come over sometime? Emma asked, looking up at Evelyn. To see my octopus collection? Evelyn crouched down again. I'd love to. Promise? Promise. Emma smiled, then turned and climbed into Lucas's car. Lucas lingered behind. Thank you. For today. I should be thanking you. Why? Because I haven't had this much fun in years. Lucas smiled. Neither have we. They stood there at the parking lot, the late afternoon sun turning the sky orange and pink. Evelyn knew she should leave, get in her car, go back to her penthouse and her empty schedule and the work she'd been avoiding all day. But she didn't want to. Lucas? Yeah. Would you want to do this again? Not the aquarium, just time together. Lucas looked at her for a long moment, then he stepped closer. Evelyn, I'm a 32-year-old widower with an 8-year-old daughter and a job that barely pays 6 figures. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment in Logan Square. I drive a car that's 10 years old. My idea of a fancy dinner is takeout that doesn't come in a paper bag. Okay, Evelyn said slowly. I'm telling you this because you need to know what you're signing up for. This isn't some movie where the single dad magically fits into the billionaire's world. My life is messy, complicated, and Emma comes first, always. Evelyn met his eyes. I know. And you still want to do this? Yeah, I do. Lucas smiled. Actually, smiled. Okay then. Okay. He leaned in and kissed her, quick, soft, over before Evelyn had time to process it. Then he stepped back, still smiling. I'll text you. You better. Lucas walked to his car. Evelyn watched him drive away, Emma's hand waving from the back window. Then she got in her own car, sat there for a full minute, and laughed. Not because anything was funny, but because for the first time in almost a year, something finally felt right. The text came 3 days later on a Tuesday afternoon while Evelyn was in the middle of a conference call with investors in Singapore. Emma wants to know if you're free for dinner Thursday. Fair warning, she's making spaghetti, which means the kitchen will look like a crime scene and the noodles will be overcooked. But she's very excited about it. Evelyn excused herself from the call, claiming a technical issue, and stared at the message for a solid 30 seconds. Dinner. At Lucas's apartment. With Emma. This was different from coffee or the aquarium. This was his life. His home. The place where he and Emma existed without pretense or performance. She typed back, What time? 6? Emma has soccer practice until 5:30. I'll be there. Should I bring anything? Just yourself. And maybe low expectations for the spaghetti. Evelyn smiled at her phone like an idiot. Across the table, Claire was watching her with raised eyebrows. What? Evelyn said. You're smiling at your phone. You never smile at your phone. I smile. At quarterly reports, maybe? Not at text messages. Claire leaned forward. It's the engineer, isn't it? Evelyn felt her face heat up. His name is Lucas. And we're having dinner Thursday. At a restaurant? At his apartment. Claire's eyes widened. Evelyn Carter is going to a man's apartment for dinner. Is that so shocking? Honestly? Yes. You usually make men come to you. Neutral territory at minimum. Evelyn set her phone down. This is different. How? Because he's different. He doesn't care about any of this. She gestured vaguely at the conference room, the building, the empire she'd built. He cares about his daughter, about doing good work, about showing up. Claire studied her for a moment. You really like him. I think I do. That terrifies you. Completely. Good, Claire said. You should be terrified. Means it matters. Thursday arrived faster than Evelyn expected. She left work at 5, which felt obscenely early. Her assistant actually did a double take when Evelyn walked past her desk. Is everything okay? Priya asked. Fine. I just have plans. Plans? You never have plans. I have plans all the time. Work plans don't count. Evelyn didn't argue. She just grabbed her coat and left. Lucas's apartment was in Logan Square, a neighborhood Evelyn rarely visited. The building was old, probably 1920s, with worn brick and windows that probably leaked in winter. She found a parking spot half a block away and sat in her car for a moment, second-guessing everything. What was she doing here? She was a billionaire CEO about to have dinner in a 2-bedroom apartment with a man she'd known for less than 2 weeks and his 8-year-old daughter. This was insane, reckless, completely outside anything she'd ever done before. She got out of the car. Lucas answered on the second knock. He wore jeans and a faded blue t-shirt, and his hair was slightly damp like he'd just showered. Hey, he said, smiling. You found it. Google Maps is surprisingly accurate. Come in. Fair warning, Emma's been cleaning for an hour, which means she's mostly just moved things from one pile to another pile. Evelyn stepped inside. The apartment was small but lived in. Hardwood floors that creaked slightly. Furniture that looked comfortable rather than expensive. Photos everywhere. Emma at various ages. A woman Evelyn assumed was Sarah. Family shots at beaches and parks and birthday parties. Emma ran out from what must have been her bedroom, wearing an apron covered in cartoon fish. "You came," she said, bouncing on her toes. "I promised, didn't I?" "Do you want to see my octopus collection before dinner?" Lucas laughed. Emma let her breathe for 2 seconds. "It's okay," Evelyn said. "I'd love to see them." Emma grabbed her hand and dragged her down the narrow hallway. Her room was exactly what Evelyn expected. Books everywhere, posters of sea creatures on the walls, and an entire shelf dedicated to stuffed octopuses in various sizes and colors. "This one's Murray," Emma said, holding up a purple octopus. "And this is Captain. And this is Dr. Tentacles." "Dr. Tentacles? He has a PhD in being squishy." Evelyn laughed, actually laughed. "That's very impressive." Emma showed her each octopus, explaining their personalities and backstories with complete seriousness. Evelyn found herself genuinely engaged, asking questions, playing along. When they finally made it back to the kitchen, Lucas was draining pasta at the sink. "She talked your ear off, didn't she?" he said without turning around. "I liked it," Evelyn said honestly. Lucas glanced over his shoulder, surprised. "Yeah? Yeah." Dinner was exactly as chaotic as Lucas had warned. The spaghetti was overcooked. The sauce was from a jar. Emma spilled her water twice and talked non-stop about a kid at school who claimed dolphins were smarter than octopuses. "They're not, right?" Emma asked Evelyn, looking genuinely concerned. "They're both smart," Evelyn said diplomatically, "just in different ways. But octopuses are smarter. I think octopuses have better problem-solving skills. Dolphins have better social intelligence." Emma considered this. "Okay, I'll accept that." Lucas smiled at Evelyn across the table. She smiled back. After dinner, Emma insisted on showing Evelyn her collection of marine biology books. They sat on the living room floor while Emma explained the difference between cephalopods and crustaceans. Lucas cleaned up the kitchen, occasionally glancing over at them with an expression Evelyn couldn't quite read. Around 7:30, Emma started yawning. "Bedtime," Lucas said gently. "I'm not tired," Emma protested, yawning again. "Uh-huh. Go brush your teeth." Emma stood reluctantly, then turned to Evelyn. "Will you come back?" Evelyn's throat tightened. "If your dad says it's okay." "Of course it's okay," Lucas said. "Now go. Teeth." Emma disappeared down the hallway. Lucas sat down on the couch next to Evelyn, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. "Sorry about the interrogation," he said. She gets excited about new people, especially people who actually listen to her octopus facts." "I wasn't interrogated. I had fun." "Really? Really?" Evelyn paused. "She's amazing, Lucas. You're doing something right." Lucas looked down at his hands. "Some days I'm not so sure." "What do you mean?" "I mean, she doesn't have a mom. She eats mac and cheese 4 nights a week because I'm too tired to cook real food. Half the time I have no idea what I'm doing." He exhaled slowly. "I'm just making it up as I go." "That's called parenting." "Is it?" "I think so. My parents were billionaires too. They had every resource imaginable, and they still screwed me up in a dozen different ways." Lucas looked at her. "How?" Evelyn hesitated. She didn't talk about her parents, not to anyone. But sitting here in Lucas's small apartment, surrounded by photos of his late wife and Emma's drawings on the refrigerator, the truth felt easier. "They loved me," she said quietly, "but they loved success more. Every achievement was praised. Every failure was a lesson in what I'd done wrong. By the time I was 12, I'd learned that my value was tied to my performance." "That's awful." "It made me successful, but it also made me, I don't know, afraid of being ordinary. Afraid that if I stopped achieving, stopped building, stopped proving myself, I'd stop mattering." Lucas was quiet for a moment. "Is that why you work so much?" "Probably." "And Ryan? Did he make you feel like you mattered?" Evelyn laughed bitterly. "Ryan made me feel like I was too much, too ambitious, too focused, too busy. And then he left me for someone simpler. You're not too much, Lucas said firmly. You're exactly enough. Evelyn felt tears prick at her eyes. She blinked them back. You don't know me well enough to say that. Maybe not, but I know enough to know you're not giving yourself enough credit. Before Evelyn could respond, Emma appeared in the hallway wearing pajamas covered in sharks. Dad, I can't find Mr. Bubbles. Did you check under your pillow? Emma ran back to her room. Lucas stood, offering Evelyn his hand. Come on, you're about to witness the nightly stuffed animal crisis. Evelyn let him pull her to her feet. They walked to Emma's room together. Mr. Bubbles, a blue octopus, was eventually found wedged between the bed and the wall. Emma climbed into bed, clutching him tightly. Good night, Emma, Evelyn said from the doorway. Good night, Evelyn. Thanks for coming. Thanks for having me. Lucas tucked Emma in, kissed her forehead, and turned off the light. They walked back to the living room in silence. Want some wine? Lucas asked. Fair warning, it's cheap. Cheap wine sounds perfect. He poured them each a glass of red that probably cost $8. They sat on the couch, facing each other. Can I ask you something? Lucas said. Sure. What are we doing here? Evelyn's heart skipped. What do you mean? I mean, you're a billionaire. I'm a single dad who can barely afford this apartment. We live in completely different worlds. So? So this doesn't make sense. You could date anyone. CEOs, investors, people who actually fit into your life. Evelyn set her wine glass down. I've dated those people. It never worked. Why not? Because they saw me as a business opportunity, or a status symbol, or competition. She paused. You see me as a person. You are a person. I know, but most people forget that. Lucas studied her face. So what happens now? I don't know. That doesn't scare you? It terrifies me, Evelyn admitted, but I'm tired of making decisions based on fear. Lucas smiled. Yeah, me too. He leaned in and kissed her, slower this time, deeper. Evelyn felt something in her chest crack open, something she'd been holding tight for months. When they pulled apart, Lucas's hand was still on her face. Stay, he said quietly. Lucas, not like that, just stay. Talk to me. Sit here. I don't want you to leave yet. Evelyn didn't trust herself to speak, so she just nodded. They talked until almost midnight, about everything. Lucas told her about Sarah, how they'd met in college, how she'd been the one to pursue him, how their wedding had been in her parents' backyard with 20 people and a cake from Costco. Evelyn told him about building Carter Tech from nothing, about the investors who'd told her she was too young, too inexperienced, too female to succeed. Do you ever regret it? Lucas asked. The sacrifices you made? Sometimes. I missed a lot of life building that company. Friendships, relationships, normal things people in their 20s do. Like what? Like sleeping past 6 a.m., or taking a vacation that wasn't also a business trip, or dating someone without calculating whether they were good for my brand. Lucas shook his head. That's exhausting. It is, but it's also all I know. Maybe it's time to learn something new. Evelyn looked at him. Like what? Like how to just be, without achieving or building or proving anything. I don't know if I know how to do that. Then I'll teach you. It should have sounded arrogant, presumptuous, but coming from Lucas, it just sounded honest. Evelyn left around 12:30. Lucas walked her to her car, hands in his pockets, breath visible in the cold air. Thank you, Evelyn said. For tonight, for Emma, for everything. You keep thanking me, because I mean it. Lucas smiled. Come back this weekend. Emma wants to show you her school project about coral reefs. I'd like that. Yeah? Yeah. He kissed her goodbye, quick and soft, then watched as she got in her car and drove away. Evelyn made it 3 blocks before she had to pull over. Not because something was wrong, but because something was finally right. She sat in her parked car on a random street in Logan Square and laughed until she cried. The next morning, Evelyn's world came crashing down. She was in her office reviewing acquisition proposals when Priya knocked on the door, her face pale. We have a problem. Evelyn looked up. What kind of problem? Legal just called. Someone leaked the Apex merger details to TechCrunch. The article goes live in an hour. Evelyn's stomach dropped. What? Everything. Financials, projections, internal emails. Priya's hands shook slightly. They're calling it insider trading, saying we manipulated stock prices. That's insane. We haven't done anything illegal. I know, but the headline doesn't care about facts. Evelyn stood, her mind already racing through scenarios. Call an emergency board meeting, get Claire and the legal team in the conference room, and find out who leaked this. Priya nodded and disappeared. The next 6 hours were a nightmare. The article published at 10 a.m. By 11, Carter Tech stock had dropped 12%. By noon, the SEC was making inquiries. By 2 p.m., 3 board members were calling for Evelyn's resignation. Thompson was, predictably, the loudest. This is exactly what I warned you about, he said, pacing the conference room like a caged animal. You rushed this merger, cut corners, and now we're all paying for it. We didn't cut corners, Evelyn said through gritted teeth. Someone on this board leaked confidential information. That's the story. The story is that you've lost control of this company. Robert, that's enough, Claire cut in. No, it's not enough. Evelyn's made this company toxic. Her personal drama is bleeding into business decisions. And now we're facing federal investigation because she couldn't keep her house in order. Evelyn felt something snap inside her. My personal drama? You mean the fact that I'm human? That I have a life outside this building? I mean the fact that you've been distracted for months, missing meetings, delegating critical decisions, showing up late to board discussions. Thompson leaned forward. You're not fit to lead this company anymore. The room went silent. Evelyn stared at him, at the other board members avoiding eye contact, at Claire, who looked ready to throw something at Thompson's head. Get out, Evelyn said quietly. Thompson blinked. Excuse me? Get out of my conference room, out of my building. You're off the board effective immediately. You can't do that. Watch me. You just accused me of being unfit to lead the company I built from nothing, so either you trust my leadership or you don't. And if you don't, you have no business being on this board. Thompson's face turned red. The other board members will back me. Evelyn looked around the table. Will you? Silence. One by one, the board members shook their heads, even the ones who'd been quiet during Thompson's tirade. Thompson grabbed his briefcase and stormed out. The meeting adjourned 20 minutes later. Claire stayed behind. That was either the bravest thing you've ever done or the stupidest, she said. Probably both. The SEC investigation will find nothing because we did nothing wrong. Evelyn rubbed her temples. But the leak is real. Someone on the inside sold us out. Who would do that? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. Evelyn spent the rest of the afternoon doing damage control. Calls with lawyers, calls with investors, a hastily arranged press conference where she calmly explained that Carter Tech had followed all legal protocols and welcomed the SEC's investigation. By the time she left the office, it was almost 9 p.m. Her phone buzzed, a text from Lucas. Saw the news, you okay? Evelyn stared at the message. She should say yes, should brush it off, should keep her professional disasters separate from whatever was happening between them. Instead, she typed, Can I come over? Always. She drove to Logan Square in a daze. When Lucas answered the door, he took one look at her face and pulled her inside. Emma's asleep, he said quietly. Come here. He led her to the couch. Evelyn collapsed onto it, suddenly exhausted. Want to talk about it? Lucas asked. Not really. Okay. He sat beside her, not pushing, just present. Evelyn leaned against him and he wrapped an arm around her shoulders. They sat like that for a long time. No words, no questions, just quiet. Finally, Evelyn spoke. Someone leaked confidential information about my company. The SEC is investigating. My stock dropped 12%, and one of my board members accused me of being unfit to lead. What did you do? Fired him, Lucas laughed. Good. It might have been a mistake. He has connections, resources. He could make this worse. Or you just showed everyone that you don't tolerate people questioning your authority. Evelyn looked up at him. You really think that? I think you're the kind of person who builds billion-dollar companies. You don't get there by being weak. I feel weak right now. You're not. You're just tired. Lucas brushed a strand of hair from her face. When's the last time you slept? I don't know. Tuesday? Evelyn. I'm fine. You're not fine. You're running on fumes. He stood, offering his hand. Come on. Where? Guest room. You're sleeping here tonight. Lucas, I can't. Yes, you can. Emma will be thrilled to see you at breakfast, and you need actual rest, not whatever half-sleep you do in that penthouse. Evelyn wanted to argue, but she was too tired. She let Lucas lead her to the small guest room. He found her an old t-shirt and sweatpants to sleep in. Gave her a new toothbrush still in the package. I'll be right down the hall if you need anything, he said from the doorway. Lucas? Yeah? Thank you. He smiled. Stop thanking me. I can't help it. Then just to sleep. We'll figure everything else out tomorrow. Evelyn crawled into the guest bed. The sheets smelled like laundry detergent and something clean she couldn't name. She expected to lie awake, her mind racing through everything that had happened. Instead, she fell asleep in under 5 minutes. She woke to the smell of pancakes and the sound of Emma's laughter. For a moment, she didn't remember where she was. Then it came back. Lucas's apartment, the guest room, the disaster that was yesterday. She checked her phone. 7:45 a.m., 17 missed calls, 43 unread emails. She ignored all of them and walked to the kitchen. Emma was sitting at the small table, syrup on her face, talking to Lucas about something that happened at school. Lucas stood at the stove flipping pancakes, still in pajama pants and a t-shirt. He looked up when Evelyn appeared. Morning. Morning, Evelyn said, suddenly self-conscious in his borrowed clothes. Evelyn, Emma said, her face lighting up. You're here. Are you having breakfast with us? If that's okay. It's totally okay. Dad made chocolate chip pancakes. Lucas slid a plate in front of Evelyn. 3 perfect pancakes with butter melting on top. I didn't know if you like chocolate chips, he said, but Emma insisted everyone likes chocolate chips. Everyone does, Emma said confidently. Evelyn sat down. The pancakes were good. Really good. She couldn't remember the last time she'd eaten breakfast that wasn't grabbed from a coffee shop on the way to a meeting. After Emma finished eating, Lucas sent her to brush her teeth and get ready for school. How'd you sleep? He asked Evelyn. Better than I have in months. Good. I should go. Deal with everything. Or you could stay. Have another cup of coffee. Let the world wait for 20 minutes. Evelyn wanted to say no, to jump back into crisis mode, to fix everything immediately. But sitting in Lucas's small kitchen, wearing his clothes, eating pancakes his daughter insisted on, she realized how badly she needed this. The slowness, the normalcy, the reminder that life existed outside boardrooms and stock prices. Okay, she said. 20 minutes. Lucas smiled and poured her more coffee. 20 minutes turned into 40. By the time Evelyn finally left, Emma had made her promise to come back for movie night on Saturday, and Lucas had kissed her goodbye in the doorway like it was the most natural thing in the world. Evelyn drove back to her penthouse in yesterday's clothes, face scrubbed clean, hair still messy. She felt more like herself than she had in years. The SEC investigation took 3 weeks to clear Carter Tech of any wrongdoing. 3 weeks of lawyers, depositions, and journalists camped outside the building, hoping for a scandal that didn't exist. Evelyn's stock eventually recovered, though not completely. She'd lost about 8% overall, which translated to roughly $200 million in personal wealth. She found she didn't care as much as she should have. What bothered her more was finding out who'd leaked the information. The investigation, internal, not federal, eventually pointed to Marcus Chen, a senior VP who'd been passed over for CFO when Evelyn promoted Claire instead. He'd been feeding information to a competitor for months, hoping to tank the Apex merger and make Evelyn look incompetent. She fired him on a Wednesday morning. He didn't even try to deny it. You've changed, Marcus said on his way out, box of personal items in his hands. You used to be focused, driven. Now you're distracted, soft. Evelyn didn't take the bait. I'm the same person who built this company. I'm just not interested in sacrificing my entire life for it anymore. That's why you'll lose. Maybe. Or maybe I'll just lose differently. Marcus left. Evelyn closed her office door and called Lucas. Hey, he answered. She could hear Emma in the background singing something off-key. Is this a bad time? Never. Hold on. Shuffling sounds, a door closing. The singing got quieter. Okay, what's up? I found out who leaked the merger information. Yeah? Who? Someone I trusted. Someone who worked for me for 6 years. Evelyn leaned against her desk. He said I've gotten soft. Have you? The question caught her off guard. I don't know, maybe. Is that bad? In business? Probably. In life? Evelyn smiled despite everything. No, in life it's probably good. Then screw business. Easy for you to say. You're not a CEO. No, but I am a single dad raising an 8-year-old, and I can tell you that being soft, being human, is the only thing that matters. Lucas paused. Emma asked about you this morning. Wanted to know if you're still coming to movie night. I am, if the invitation's still open. It's always open. They talked for another 10 minutes. Nothing important, just life. When Evelyn hung up, she felt lighter. Claire knocked and walked in without waiting for permission. Marcus is gone? Yeah. Good. He was an asshole. Claire sat down across from Evelyn. How are you holding up? Honestly, better than I expected. That's because you're in love. Evelyn's head snapped up. What? You heard me? Claire smiled. You're in love with the engineer. I barely know him. You've been seeing him for 3 weeks. You slept at his apartment. His daughter adores you. And you're smiling more than I've seen in the entire time I've known you. That doesn't mean I'm in love. Doesn't it? Evelyn opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. Was she in love? She didn't know. Love felt like something that happened slowly, over time, with certainty and planning. What she felt for Lucas was nothing like that. It was fast and terrifying and completely unplanned, but it also felt more real than anything she'd experienced with Ryan. I don't know what I feel, Evelyn admitted. That's fair. But whatever it is, it's good for you. Claire stood. Speaking of which, take the weekend off. Actually off. No emails, no calls, no emergency board meetings. Claire, I'm serious. You just survived an SEC investigation and a corporate sabotage attempt. You've earned 2 days of not thinking about this place. Evelyn wanted to argue, but she was tired, and the idea of a weekend without work sounded impossibly good. Okay, she said. 2 days. Good. Now get out of here before I change my mind. Movie night at Lucas's apartment became a regular thing. Every Saturday, Evelyn would show up around 6 with takeout. Thai food 1 week, pizza the next, Chinese the week after that. Emma would pick the movie, usually something animated with talking animals or magical powers. Lucas would make popcorn and sit between them on the couch, his arm eventually finding its way around Evelyn's shoulders. It was domestic, normal. Everything Evelyn's life had never been. One Saturday in early December, Emma fell asleep halfway through a movie about a girl who could talk to dragons. Lucas carried her to bed while Evelyn cleaned up the popcorn bowls. When he came back, he found Evelyn standing by the window, looking out at the Chicago skyline. You okay? He asked. Yeah, just thinking. About? How different my life is now compared to 2 months ago. Lucas moved to stand beside her. Good different or bad different? I'm not sure yet. That's honest. Evelyn turned to look at him. Can I ask you something? Always. Do you ever feel like this is moving too fast? Lucas considered the question. Sometimes. But then I remember that life doesn't really care about timelines. Sarah and I got engaged after 6 months. Everyone said it was too fast. But we were together for 8 years before she died, and I never regretted it. This is different, though. We're different. How? You have Emma. I have a company that's falling apart. We live in completely separate worlds. So maybe we're setting ourselves up for failure. Lucas was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was gentle but firm. Evelyn, I'm not going to stand here and promise you this will work out perfectly. I can't predict the future, but I can tell you that I like you a lot, and Emma likes you. And for the first time since Sarah died, I feel like I'm actually living instead of just surviving. Evelyn felt her throat tighten. What if I disappoint you? What if I'm too focused on work or too damaged from Ryan or too... Stop. Lucas turned her to face him. You're not to anything. You're exactly who you are. And that's enough. How do you know? Because I see you. Not the CEO, not the billionaire, just you. The person who eats overcooked spaghetti and listens to 8-year-olds talk about octopuses and falls asleep on my couch during movies. He smiled. That person is pretty great. Evelyn kissed him before she could second guess it. Lucas kissed her back, his hands gentle on her face. When they pulled apart, Evelyn rested her forehead against his. I'm scared, she whispered. Of what? Of this mattering. Of losing it. Me too. Lucas's voice was honest, raw, but I'd rather be scared and try than safe and alone. They stood there in the quiet of his living room, the city lights reflecting through the windows, and Evelyn realized something. She'd spent her entire life building walls to protect herself from failure, from rejection, from the pain of not being enough. But Lucas had somehow slipped past all of them. The first real fight happened 2 weeks later. Evelyn was supposed to meet Lucas and Emma for dinner at a Thai place in Wicker Park. She'd promised Emma she'd be there by 6:30, but a crisis at work, a server outage that affected 3 major clients, kept her at the office until almost 8. By the time she arrived at the restaurant, Lucas and Emma were finishing their meal. I'm so sorry, Evelyn said, sliding into the booth. There was an emergency at work and I couldn't... It's fine, Lucas said. His voice was even, but Evelyn heard the edge. Emma looked between them, her face uncertain. Are you mad at Evelyn? Emma asked Lucas. No, I'm not mad. Lucas forced a smile. Why don't you go pick out a dessert from the case up front? Emma left, clearly relieved to escape the tension. Lucas waited until she was out of earshot. You're an hour and a half late. I know. I said I'm sorry. Emma was really excited to see you. She barely ate because she kept watching the door. Guilt twisted in Evelyn's stomach. I couldn't leave. The whole system was down. Clients were calling, threatening to pull contracts. You have people who can handle that. You're the CEO. You're supposed to delegate. I can't just delegate when the entire infrastructure is failing. Yes, you can. That's literally what having a team means. Lucas leaned forward. Evelyn, I get that your work is important. I do. But you made a commitment to Emma, and you broke it. It wasn't intentional. It never is. The words hung between them, sharp, true. Evelyn felt her defenses rising. So what are you saying? That I should have just left? Let my company burn while I went to dinner? I'm saying you should have called, texted, given us a heads up instead of leaving an 8-year-old wondering if you'd forgotten about her. I didn't forget. I know, but Emma doesn't know that. All she knows is that you promised to be here and you weren't. Evelyn's chest tightened. Lucas, I'm trying. I really am. But I can't just turn off being a CEO because... Because what? Because you have a personal life now? Lucas's voice was quiet but firm. That's exactly the problem. You're still acting like work is the only thing that matters. That's not fair, isn't it? When's the last time you took a full day off? When's the last time you weren't checking your email during dinner? You say you want this, us, but you're not actually making space for it. Evelyn opened her mouth to argue, but Emma came back carrying a small plate with mango sticky rice. Can we share? Emma asked, oblivious to the tension. Of course, Evelyn said, her voice strained. They sat through dessert, making stilted conversation. Emma chattered about school, clearly trying to fill the silence. Lucas answered her questions with forced enthusiasm. Evelyn picked at the sticky rice, feeling like she'd swallowed glass. When they left the restaurant, Lucas walked them to Evelyn's car in silence. I should go, Evelyn said. Yeah. Emma hugged her goodbye. Evelyn held her maybe a second too long. Will you come to my school concert next week? Emma asked. I'm playing the recorder. Evelyn glanced at Lucas. His expression was carefully neutral. I'll try, Evelyn said. You'll try or you'll be there. The question, so simple, so direct, hit harder than it should have. I'll be there, Evelyn said. I promise. Emma smiled and ran back to Lucas. He picked her up, settled her on his hip even though she was probably too big for it. Good night, Evelyn, he said. Lucas, can we? Not now. Emma's here. We'll talk later. He walked away before Evelyn could respond. She sat in her car for 10 minutes before driving home. The whole way, his words echoed in her head. You're not actually making space for it. Was he right? Evelyn had spent 3 decades prioritizing work over everything else: relationships, friendships, health. She told herself it was necessary, that building something great required sacrifice. But what if she'd just been hiding? What if staying busy was easier than being vulnerable? The thought followed her all the way to her penthouse, through her nightly routine, into bed where she lay awake staring at the ceiling. She didn't text Lucas, didn't call, just lay there feeling the weight of everything she'd been avoiding for years. The next morning, Evelyn did something she hadn't done in over a decade. She called her assistant and told her to clear her entire schedule for the day. Everything? Priya said, sounding shocked. Everything. Reschedule what you can, cancel what you can't. Are you sick? No, I just need a day. Evelyn hung up before Priya could ask more questions. Then she got in her car and drove to a bookstore in Lincoln Park she'd passed 100 times but never entered. She spent 2 hours browsing, reading first chapters, drinking overpriced coffee. She bought 3 novels she'd never make time to read and a parenting book that made her feel presumptuous but hopeful. At noon, she walked to a small park nearby and sat on a bench, watched people, parents pushing strollers, college students studying on blankets, an old couple feeding ducks. Normal life. The kind she'd never had. Her phone buzzed constantly. Work emails, questions that supposedly only she could answer, fires that apparently needed immediate attention. She ignored all of it. Around 2 p.m., she texted Lucas. Can we talk? He responded 10 minutes later. Emma's at a birthday party until 4. Want to meet for coffee? Yeah, where? 2:45? Where we had our first one? I'll be there in 20. Lucas was already sitting at their usual table when Evelyn arrived. He looked tired, like maybe he hadn't slept well either. Hey, she said, sitting down. Hey. They ordered coffee, sat in awkward silence until the drinks arrived. Finally, Lucas spoke. I'm sorry about last night. I came at you pretty hard. You weren't wrong. I wasn't entirely right either. I know your job is demanding. I knew that going in. Evelyn wrapped her hands around her mug. No, you were right. I've been treating this like something I can fit into my schedule instead of something I actually need to make room for. Evelyn, let me finish. She took a breath. I've spent my entire adult life proving that I'm enough, smart enough, tough enough, successful enough. And somewhere along the way, I convinced myself that if I stopped working, even for a day, I'd lose everything I'd built. That's not true. I know. Logically, I know. But that fear is still there. She looked up at him. Last night, when you said I wasn't making space for us, it hurt. Because you were right. I've been keeping one foot out the door this whole time. Lucas reached across the table, took her hand. Why? Because if I don't go all in, it won't hurt as much when it falls apart. Who says it's going to fall apart? Everything in my life eventually does. Lucas was quiet for a moment. Sarah and I used to fight about my work too. I was obsessed with this one project, a bridge design that was supposed to revolutionize structural engineering or whatever. I'd stay late at the office, bring work home, miss dinners and bedtimes. He paused. She told me once that I was choosing the bridge over her, and I got defensive. Said she didn't understand the pressure I was under. What happened? She died before I could make it right. Before I could show her that she mattered more than any project. Lucas's voice cracked slightly. I don't want you to have that regret, Evelyn. I don't want you to wake up one day and realize you sacrificed the real things for the important seeming things. Evelyn felt tears burn behind her eyes. I don't know if I know how to change. Then let me help you. Let us help you. Me and Emma. Lucas squeezed her hand. You don't have to do this alone. What if I mess it up? You will. So will I. We'll both mess it up 100 different ways. He smiled. But we'll figure it out together. Evelyn let the tears fall. Didn't try to hide them or blink them back. Just let them come. I'm scared, she whispered. I know. Me too. But you still want to try? Yeah, I do. Evelyn nodded. Okay. Then I need to tell you something. What? I already cleared my entire schedule today. Just took the day off. No meetings, no emails, nothing. Lucas's eyebrows shot up. Seriously? Seriously, and I'm going to do it every Saturday from now on. Full day. Just for us. For Emma. For whatever we want to do. Evelyn, you don't have to. Yes, I do, because you're right. I haven't been making space. But I want to. I want this to work. Lucas smiled. Actually smiled. Yeah? Yeah. He stood, pulled her to her feet, and kissed her right there in the middle of the coffee shop. Evelyn kissed him back, not caring who saw. When they pulled apart, Lucas was still smiling. So what do we do with the rest of your free day? He asked. I don't know. What do normal people do? Walk around, talk. Maybe see a movie we'll both hate and argue about it after. That sounds perfect. They spent the afternoon doing exactly that. Walked through Lincoln Park. Talked about nothing important. Saw a terrible action movie and spent an hour afterward debating plot holes over pizza. It was ordinary. Simple. The most normal day Evelyn had experienced in years, and it felt revolutionary. Emma's school concert was on a Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. Evelyn showed up at 6:45, 15 minutes early, and found Lucas saving her a seat in the crowded auditorium. You came, he said, looking genuinely surprised. I promised. I know, but I wasn't sure you'd actually make it. I left work at 5:30, told my assistant I'd be unreachable until tomorrow morning. Lucas kissed her temple. Emma's going to be so happy. The concert was exactly what you'd expect from a third-grade music performance. Off-key recorders, kids forgetting their parts, one boy who started crying halfway through and had to be led off stage by a teacher. Emma played her part perfectly. She stood in the second row, concentrating so hard her tongue stuck out slightly, and didn't miss a single note. When she finished, she looked directly at Evelyn and Lucas and grinned. Evelyn felt something crack open in her chest, not breaking, opening, like a door she'd kept locked for years, finally swinging wide. After the concert, Emma ran over to them, still holding her recorder. Did you see? Did you see me play? You were amazing, Evelyn said, crouching down to Emma's level. I didn't mess up even once. You were perfect. Emma threw her arms around Evelyn's neck. Thank you for coming. Evelyn hugged her back, blinking away tears. I wouldn't have missed it. They went out for ice cream after. All three of them crowded into a tiny shop that only had 6 flavors and rickety chairs. Emma got chocolate with rainbow sprinkles. Lucas got vanilla. Evelyn got mint chip and let Emma steal bites from her cone. On the drive home, Emma fell asleep in the back seat. Lucas carried her up to the apartment while Evelyn followed with Emma's backpack and recorder. After Lucas put Emma to bed, he found Evelyn standing in the kitchen, staring at the drawings on the refrigerator. What are you thinking about? He asked. How much I like this. Ice cream? This. Your life, the normalcy of it. Lucas moved to stand beside her. It's not always normal. Sometimes it's chaos. Emma has nightmares. School projects due the next day that I forgot about. Mornings where nothing goes right, and we're both crying by the time I drop her off. I know, but even the chaos feels real. More real than anything in my life has ever been. What does your life feel like? Evelyn thought about it. Performative. Like I'm constantly on stage playing a role, the successful CEO, the brilliant founder, the woman who has everything figured out. But you don't have everything figured out. Not even close. Lucas wrapped his arms around her from behind, rested his chin on her shoulder. Good. Neither do I. They stood like that for a while, just breathing together in the quiet kitchen. Can I tell you something? Evelyn said eventually. Anything. I think I'm falling in love with you. She felt Lucas's breath catch. Yeah? Yeah. And it terrifies me. But I wanted you to know. Lucas turned her around to face him. I'm falling in love with you too. Have been since that first dance at the restaurant. Really? Really. He kissed her, soft and slow and certain. And for what it's worth, it terrifies me too. What do we do about it? I don't know. Keep showing up, I guess. Keep trying. Keep being honest. Evelyn nodded. I can do that. Good. Because Emma's already planning your birthday party, and it's not for another 4 months. Evelyn laughed. She is? Yep. Apparently there's going to be an octopus cake and a marine biology trivia game. She's very committed. I love her, Evelyn said. The words surprised her, but they felt true. Lucas smiled. She loves you too. She told me last week that you're her favorite person besides me. Really? Really? Evelyn felt tears sting her eyes again, happy tears this time. I don't deserve you to. Yes, you do. Stop saying you don't deserve good things. Lucas cupped her face. You deserve everything good, Evelyn. You just have to let yourself have it. That night, Evelyn drove home to her penthouse with the windows down despite the December cold. She didn't check her email, didn't review tomorrow's schedule, didn't think about the merger or the stock price or the 100 other things that usually consumed her thoughts. She just drove through Chicago with the radio playing and thought about a man who saw her as more than her accomplishments and a little girl who wanted to throw her an octopus-themed birthday party. And for the first time in her life, success felt like something she could actually hold on to. 3 months into their relationship, Evelyn met Lucas's sister. Jessica Reed showed up unannounced at Lucas's apartment on a Saturday morning, while Evelyn was making pancakes and Emma was building a fort out of couch cushions. The knock on the door startled all three of them. Lucas opened it to find his sister standing there with 2 suitcases and mascara running down her face. He cheated, Jessica said flatly, for 6 months, with his assistant. Jesus, Jess, come here. Lucas pulled her into a hug. Jessica sobbed into his shoulder for a solid minute before seeming to notice Evelyn standing awkwardly by the stove, spatula in hand. You must be the billionaire, Jessica said, wiping her eyes. Evelyn blinked. I'm Evelyn. Right. Sorry. I'm Jessica, the recently divorced sister who shows up at terrible times. She dropped her suitcases. Is that offer to crash on your couch still open? Always, Lucas said. Jessica ended up staying for 2 weeks. Evelyn watched as Lucas seamlessly absorbed another crisis into his life, making coffee for his heartbroken sister at 6 a.m., listening to her cry at odd hours, helping her draft angry texts to her ex that he then convinced her not to send. He did it all while still showing up for Emma, for work, for Evelyn. How do you do this? Evelyn asked him one night after Jessica had finally fallen asleep on the couch. Do what? Take care of everyone. Your sister, Emma, me, your job. How do you not collapse? Lucas shrugged. You just do it. Because the alternative is letting people down. That's not a strategy. That's just martyrdom. Maybe. But it's the only way I know. Evelyn studied his face in the dim light from the kitchen. He looked exhausted. She'd noticed the circles under his eyes getting darker, the way he sometimes zoned out mid-conversation like his brain had temporarily left his body. When's the last time someone took care of you? She asked quietly. Lucas didn't answer right away. I don't know. Before Sarah died, probably. That was 3 years ago. Yeah. Lucas. I'm fine. You're not fine. You're running on empty. Evelyn moved closer. Let me help. What do you need? I don't need anything. That's a lie. Lucas laughed, but it sounded tired. Okay, I need about 12 hours of uninterrupted sleep and a vacation I can't afford, and for my sister's husband to not be a cheating asshole. Can you fix any of that? I can fix the sleep part, and maybe the vacation. Evelyn, tomorrow's Sunday. I'm taking Emma to the aquarium. Jessica can come too if she wants. You're staying here and sleeping. I can't just... Yes, you can. Emma and I will be fine. Your sister will be fine. And you need rest before you actually collapse. Lucas looked like he wanted to argue, but exhaustion won. Okay, he said finally. Thank you. The next morning, Evelyn showed up at 8 a.m. with coffee and bagels. Emma was thrilled about another aquarium trip. Jessica seemed relieved to have a distraction from her imploding marriage. And Lucas looked guilty, but grateful. Call if you need anything, he said as they left. We won't need anything, Evelyn said. Sleep. She took Emma and Jessica to the aquarium, then to lunch, then to a bookstore where Emma picked out 3 new marine biology books, and Jessica bought a self-help book about divorce that she immediately seemed embarrassed about. Don't judge me, Jessica said, clutching the book. I'm not judging. I have a whole shelf of self-help books at home. Really? The billionaire needs self-help? The billionaire spent 11 months in therapy after her ex left her for someone else. So yeah, self-help books. Jessica laughed. Actually laughed. I think I like you. Good, because your brother's kind of important to me. He told me about you two. Jessica paused. He also told me he's in love with you. Evelyn's heart stuttered. He said that? Not in those exact words, but I know my brother, and I haven't seen him this happy since before Sarah died. They walked in silence for a moment. Emma ran ahead, peering into shop windows. Can I ask you something? Jessica said. Sure. Why Lucas? You could date anyone. CEOs, celebrities, people who actually have money and time and normal schedules. Why a widowed single dad who lives in a 2-bedroom apartment? Evelyn had been asked this question, or versions of it, by friends, colleagues, even her own mother during an uncomfortable phone call last week. She'd given different answers each time, none of them quite right. But standing there on a random Chicago street with Lucas's sister, the truth felt simpler. Because he sees me, Evelyn said. Not what I've built, not what I'm worth, just me, the person underneath all of it. Jessica nodded slowly. That sounds like Lucas. He's good at that. He's good at a lot of things. He's also terrible at asking for help, and he'll work himself to death trying to take care of everyone else. Jessica looked at her directly. So if you're going to be with him, you need to know that. He won't tell you when he's struggling. You'll have to notice. I'm learning that. Good. Jessica smiled. Also, for what it's worth, Emma adores you. She talks about you constantly. Evelyn this, Evelyn that. It's kind of annoying, actually. Evelyn laughed. I adore her too. They got back to Lucas's apartment around 4 p.m. He was awake, showered, and looking more human than he had in days. Did you sleep? Evelyn asked. 10 hours. I feel like a new person. Good. Emma immediately launched into a detailed recap of their day, barely pausing to breathe. Lucas listened with the kind of attention only parents could sustain, nodding and asking questions and genuinely caring about every small detail. Later, after Jessica had retreated to the couch with her divorce book and Emma was in her room doing homework, Lucas pulled Evelyn aside. Thank you, he said quietly, for today, for taking care of them so I could rest. You don't have to thank me. Yes, I do. You didn't sign up for my chaotic family when we started this. Maybe not. But I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere. Lucas kissed her, soft and grateful, and maybe a little bit desperate, like he was just realizing how much he needed someone to lean on. When they pulled apart, Evelyn rested her forehead against his. We're in this together, she said. The good parts and the messy parts. Okay? Okay. The crisis with Jessica resolved itself slowly. Her husband called, apologized, begged her to come back. Jessica told him to go to hell. Then she cried for 3 days straight. Then she got angry. Then she hired a lawyer. Through it all, Evelyn showed up. Not as the billionaire CEO, just as someone who cared. She brought wine and takeout. She listened to Jessica vent. She even helped Jessica look at apartments she could actually afford on a teacher's salary. You don't have to do this, Jessica said one evening while they scrolled through rental listings. I know. So why are you? Because you're important to Lucas, which makes you important to me. Jessica set her laptop aside. Can I tell you something? Sure. I was worried about you. When Lucas first told me he was seeing someone, I thought you'd be another Sarah, someone who'd make him choose between his family and his relationship. Someone who'd resent Emma for taking up so much of his time and energy. I'm not Sarah. I know. That's what I'm saying. You're different. You show up. You help. You care about Emma like she's yours. Jessica paused. Sarah loved Emma, but she also struggled with being a parent, with the sacrifice of it. And I think part of her resented Lucas for adapting so easily when she couldn't. Evelyn didn't know what to say to that. How do you know all this? Because Sarah told me, a few months before she died. She said she felt like a bad mother, that Lucas was better at it than she was, and she hated that it came so naturally to him. That must have been hard. It was. For both of them. Jessica picked up her laptop again. Anyway, I just wanted you to know that you're good for Lucas. For both of them. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. The warning proved necessary 2 weeks later when Evelyn's mother came to visit. Patricia Carter was everything Evelyn had spent her life trying not to become. cold, calculating, viewing relationships as transactions and emotions as weakness. She'd built her own fortune in real estate and raised Evelyn with the same ruthless efficiency she applied to business deals. "So this is where he lives," Patricia said, looking around Lucas's apartment like it was a museum exhibit of poverty. "Mom, be nice." "I am being nice. I didn't say anything." "Your face is saying plenty." Patricia sat down on the couch, smoothing her designer skirt. "Evelyn, darling, you know I support your choices, but this seems impractical." "What does?" "This entire situation, dating a man who makes less in a year than you make in a week, who has a child from a previous marriage, who lives in Logan Square of all places. It's a good neighborhood. It's middle class. You're not middle class." Evelyn felt anger rise in her chest. "No, I'm rich. That doesn't mean I have to date rich people." "Of course not, but compatibility matters. Shared experiences, similar lifestyles. Lucas and I are compatible." "Are you? Can he afford to travel with you, to attend the galas and fundraisers you're constantly invited to understand the pressures of running a billion-dollar company?" "He doesn't need to understand all of that. He just needs to understand me." Patricia sighed. "You're being naive. Love doesn't pay the bills, and eventually the resentment builds. He'll resent your success. You'll resent his limitations. It's inevitable." "That's not true, isn't it? Your father and I divorced for exactly this reason. He couldn't handle my ambition, made him feel small, and I resented him for holding me back. Lucas isn't holding me back. Not yet, but give it time." The door opened. Lucas walked in with Emma, both of them carrying grocery bags. "Oh," Lucas said, seeing Patricia. "Hi, you must be Evelyn's mom." Patricia stood, extended a perfectly manicured hand. "Patricia Carter." "Lucas Reed, nice to meet you." He set the groceries down, smiled genuinely. "Emma, come say hi." Emma peered around Lucas's leg, suddenly shy. "Hi." "Hello," Patricia said. Her voice was polite but distant, the way you'd greet a stranger's child. The dinner that followed was excruciating. Patricia asked questions that sounded innocent but landed like accusations. How long did Lucas plan to stay in engineering? Did he have ambitions for advancement? Had he considered moving to a better neighborhood for Emma's sake? Lucas answered everything patiently, refusing to take the bait. When Emma accidentally spilled her juice, Patricia's disapproval was written all over her face. "It's fine," Lucas said quickly, grabbing paper towels. "Happens all the time." "I'm sure it does," Patricia murmured. After dinner, while Lucas put Emma to bed, Patricia cornered Evelyn in the kitchen. "He seems nice," she said. "He is nice. But is he enough?" Evelyn turned to face her mother. "Enough for what?" "For you, for the life you've built, for the future you deserve." "He's more than enough." "Evelyn, be realistic. What happens when you want to expand internationally and he can't leave because of custody arrangements? What happens when you're invited to the White House and he doesn't own a tuxedo? What happens when—" "Stop!" Evelyn's voice was sharp. "Just stop." Patricia blinked, clearly not used to being interrupted. "I spent 30 years trying to live up to your standards," Evelyn continued. "Trying to be successful enough, ambitious enough, perfect enough. And you know what it got me? $1 billion and complete loneliness. That's dramatic. It's true. I had everything you told me to want, and I was miserable. Until I met Lucas." "And what does he give you that success couldn't?" "Peace, honesty, a reason to leave work at 5 p.m. Evelyn's voice softened. "He makes me want to be more than just a CEO. And I'm not giving that up because you think he's not wealthy enough or impressive enough or whatever, enough you've decided he needs to be." Patricia was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was different, uncertain. "I just don't want you to get hurt." "I know, but I'm an adult. It's my risk to take. And if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. But at least I'll have tried. At least I'll have actually lived instead of just achieving." Patricia gathered her purse, preparing to leave. At the door, she paused. "Your father used to say something similar," she said quietly, "before we divorced. That I cared more about success than about us." "Did you?" "I don't know. Maybe. At the time, I thought they were the same thing." She looked at Evelyn. "I hope you're right about this. I hope he's worth it." "He is." After Patricia left, Evelyn found Lucas sitting on the couch, staring at nothing. "I'm sorry," she said, sitting beside him. "For what?" "For my mother, for the interrogation, for all of it." Lucas shook his head. "It's fine, I expected something like that." "It's not fine. She was rude and classist and she loves you." Lucas turned to look at her. "In her own messed up way, she's trying to protect you. I get it." "You shouldn't have to get it." "But I do, because she's not entirely wrong." Evelyn's stomach dropped. "What?" "I mean, we are from different worlds. You're worth billions. I'm worth maybe 50,000 if you count my car and my savings. You travel internationally for work. I've been outside the country once for my honeymoon. You're invited to galas and fundraisers. I don't even own a suit that fits properly." "None of that matters, doesn't it?" Lucas's voice was gentle but firm. "Evelyn, I love you. I really do. And I think we work. But I'd be lying if I said I never worried about the differences." "What differences?" "Like what happens when Emma needs braces and I can barely afford them? Or when she wants to go to college and I don't have the money saved? Do I let you pay for everything and feel like I'm taking advantage? Or do I refuse help and watch my daughter suffer because of my pride?" "That's years away. But it's coming, and there will be 100 other moments like that, big and small, where the gap between us becomes obvious." Evelyn felt tears burn behind her eyes. "So what are you saying, that we should end this?" "No. I'm saying we need to talk about it. Actually talk about how we're going to navigate this. Because pretending the differences don't exist isn't a strategy." He was right. Of course he was right. They'd been avoiding this conversation for months, too caught up in the newness of what they'd found to think about the practical realities. "Okay," Evelyn said, "let's talk." They talked for 3 hours. About money, about expectations, about how to handle situations where Evelyn wanted to help, but Lucas's pride got in the way. About what they'd tell Emma as she got older and started noticing the differences between Evelyn's penthouse and their 2-bedroom apartment. It wasn't easy. Lucas admitted that sometimes he felt inadequate, like he couldn't give Evelyn the life she deserved. Evelyn admitted that sometimes she used money to solve problems because it was easier than actually being vulnerable. By the end, they hadn't solved everything, but they'd at least acknowledged the elephant in the room. "I don't want your money," Lucas said as they lay on the couch together. "I want you. But I also don't want to be so stubborn that I can't accept help when Emma needs it. And I don't want to use money as a way to avoid actual emotional work," Evelyn said. "I need to learn to show up without just throwing cash at problems." "Deal. Deal." They sealed it with a kiss. The real test came 2 months later when Emma got sick. It started as a cough, then a fever, then trouble breathing that sent Lucas rushing her to the emergency room at 2 a.m. Evelyn got the call at 2:30. "It's pneumonia," Lucas said, his voice tight with fear. "They're admitting her. She's on oxygen." "I'm on my way." Evelyn threw on clothes and drove to the hospital. She found Lucas in the pediatric ward sitting beside Emma's bed, holding her small hand. Emma looked tiny in the hospital bed, pale, fragile. Nothing like the energetic 8-year-old who'd been teaching Evelyn about coral reefs just days before. "Hey," Evelyn said softly. Lucas looked up. His eyes were red. "Hey, how is she?" "Stable. The oxygen's helping, but they want to keep her for a few days. Make sure the antibiotics work." Evelyn sat down on Lucas's other side. "What do you need?" "I don't know. His voice broke. "I can't lose her. She's all I have left." "You're not going to lose her. She's strong. Like her dad." Lucas wiped his eyes. "I keep thinking about Sarah, how fast it happened, how I didn't get to say goodbye. And now Emma's here, and I can't stop thinking, stop. Emma's going to be fine. This is pneumonia, not a car accident. She's getting treatment. She's in good hands." "I know, but knowing it and feeling it are different things." Evelyn understood that better than anyone. Over the next 4 days, Evelyn cleared her entire schedule. She brought Lucas coffee and food he barely touched. She sat with Emma when Lucas needed to shower or make phone calls. She read to Emma from the marine biology books, doing silly voices for the different sea creatures until Emma smiled despite feeling terrible. On the 3rd day, Emma's fever finally broke. "You stayed," Emma said groggily, noticing Evelyn beside her bed. "Of course I stayed." But don't you have work? Work can wait. You're more important. Emma smiled. I love you, Evelyn. The words hit harder than Evelyn expected. She felt tears spring to her eyes. I love you too, kiddo. Emma fell back asleep. Lucas, who'd witnessed the exchange, pulled Evelyn into the hallway. Thank you, he said, his voice thick, for being here, for dropping everything, for just showing up. Where else would I be? I don't know. Running your company? In meetings? Making deals? Lucas, I meant what I said to Emma. You two are more important than any of that. Lucas pulled her into a hug, held her tight. I love you. I love you too. They stood there in the hospital hallway, holding each other while nurses walked past and machines beeped in nearby rooms. When they finally pulled apart, Lucas looked exhausted, but less haunted. I've been thinking, he said. About what? About us, about how this works long term. Evelyn's heart stuttered. And I think we need to stop pretending we're two separate lives that sometimes intersect. We're building something together, which means actually combining our lives. Not just dating, but being partners. What does that look like? I don't know exactly, but maybe it starts with you having a key to my apartment, and me actually meeting your friends instead of just hearing about them, and Emma knowing that you're not just Dad's girlfriend, your family. Evelyn felt something warm spread through her chest. I'd like that. Yeah? Yeah. They went back to Emma's room together. She was awake again, playing a game on Lucas's phone. Hey, Emma? Lucas said, sitting on the edge of her bed. Yeah? How would you feel if Evelyn became a bigger part of our family? Like, really part of it? Emma's face lit up. Like she lives with us? Maybe not right away, but eventually, yeah, something like that. Can I show her my octopus collection every day? Lucas laughed. If she wants to see it every day. Emma looked at Evelyn. Do you want to? Absolutely. Then yes, 1,000,000 times yes. Emma paused. Can we get a dog too? Nice try, Lucas said. But let's start with one big change at a time. Emma was discharged 2 days later. Evelyn helped Lucas get her settled back at home, then stayed the night to help with medication schedules and breathing treatments. Around midnight, after Emma had finally fallen asleep, Lucas found Evelyn standing in the kitchen making tea. You don't have to stay, he said. I know you have work tomorrow. I'm staying. Claire's handling the morning meetings. Lucas wrapped his arms around her from behind. I don't know what I did to deserve you. You asked me to dance when I needed someone to see me. That's what you did. That's it? One dance? One dance was enough. They stood there in comfortable silence. Outside, Chicago stretched out in all directions, a city of millions where two unlikely people had somehow found each other. Do you ever think about that night? Evelyn asked. At the restaurant? What would have happened if you hadn't asked me to dance? All the time. And I think I would have gone home alone, made Emma breakfast the next morning, gone to work, lived my life exactly the way I had been living it. Lucas paused. But I wouldn't have been happy. Not really. You seemed happy when I met you. I seemed content. There's a difference. I was surviving, getting through each day, taking care of Emma, but I wasn't actually living. And now? Now I'm living, actually living, and it's terrifying and wonderful and completely worth it. Evelyn turned in his arms to face him. I feel the same way. Before you, I thought success was enough. That if I just built something big enough, achieved enough, proved myself enough times, I'd feel fulfilled. Did you? Not even close. I just felt empty, like I was performing for an audience that didn't actually care. She touched his face. But with you and Emma, I feel like myself. Not the CEO, not the billionaire, just Evelyn. Lucas kissed her, slow and deep and full of promise. When they pulled apart, he said something that changed everything. Marry me. Evelyn's breath caught. What? Marry me. Not today, not even this year, but eventually, when you're ready, when it makes sense. His voice was steady, certain. Because I don't want eventually with someone else. I want eventually with you. Lucas, I'm not asking for an answer now. I'm just asking you to think about it, to consider a future where we're not just dating, where we're actually building a life together, you, me, and Emma. Evelyn felt tears streaming down her face. Happy tears. Terrified tears. Everything all at once. Yes, she said. Lucas blinked. Yes? Yes. I'll marry you. Not today. Not even this year, like you said. But eventually. When it makes sense. She smiled through her tears. Because I don't want eventually with anyone else either. Lucas kissed her again, then laughed, then spun her around the kitchen like they were back at that restaurant, dancing to music only they could hear. 6 months later, Evelyn did something she'd never done before. She took a full week off work. No emails, no calls, no emergencies. She and Lucas took Emma to the ocean for the first time. They rented a small house on the Oregon coast and spent 7 days doing absolutely nothing productive. Emma collected shells and sea glass. Lucas taught her to boogie board. Evelyn read novels she'd been meaning to get to for years. On the last night, after Emma had fallen asleep, Evelyn and Lucas sat on the beach watching the sunset. Thank you, Evelyn said. For what? For saving me. Lucas shook his head. I didn't save you. You saved yourself. I just happened to be there. No? You asked me to dance when I was too afraid to keep existing in that moment. You saw me when I felt invisible. You loved me when I didn't think I was worth loving. You were always worth loving. You just needed someone to remind you. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the waves roll in. Can I tell you something? Evelyn said. Always. A year ago, I thought my life was over. Ryan had left me. My company was the only thing I had. I worked 16-hour days because it was easier than going home to an empty penthouse. She paused. And now I have you. And Emma. And a life that actually feels worth living. And I wouldn't trade any of it for anything. Lucas took her hand. Not even for the $200 million you lost in the stock drop? Evelyn laughed. Not even for that. Good. Because you're stuck with us now. I can live with that. They watched the sun sink below the horizon, turning the sky orange and pink and purple. Somewhere down the beach, a couple was taking wedding photos. A family was flying a kite. Kids were building sandcastles that the tide would wash away by morning. Normal life. The kind Evelyn had never thought she'd want. The kind she now couldn't imagine living without. When they got back to Chicago, Evelyn made a decision. She promoted Claire to co-CEO and restructured her role to focus on long-term strategy instead of daily operations. It meant less control, less power, less of the achievement that had defined her entire adult life. It also meant leaving work at 5:30 most days, having dinner with Lucas and Emma, helping with homework, attending school concerts and soccer games without checking her email. Some of her board members thought she was making a mistake, that she was getting soft, just like Marcus had said. But Evelyn didn't care anymore, because she'd finally learned something her mother never had. Success wasn't the same thing as fulfillment. Achievement wasn't the same thing as happiness. And building an empire meant nothing if you had no one to share it with. On a Saturday morning in late spring, almost exactly a year after that first dance, Evelyn woke up in Lucas's bed with sun streaming through the windows and Emma jumping on the mattress yelling about pancakes. Emma, off the bed, Lucas mumbled, still half asleep. But I'm hungry. Then go start breakfast. We'll be there in a minute. Emma bounced off the bed and ran to the kitchen. Evelyn could hear her singing something about octopuses having 3 hearts. Lucas rolled over to face Evelyn. Morning. Morning. Sleep okay? Perfect. He kissed her, morning breath and all. I love you. I love you too. They lay there for another minute, just being together. Through the window, Chicago hummed with weekend energy, cars, people, life happening all around them. You know what's weird? Lucas said. What? A year ago, I thought my life was set, that this was it, me and Emma, work and parenthood, nothing more. And now? And now I have you. And it's terrifying because I keep waiting for something to go wrong, for you to realize you could do better, for this to fall apart. Evelyn propped herself up on one elbow. It's not going to fall apart. How do you know? Because we're both choosing this, every day. Even when it's hard, even when it doesn't make sense on paper. We keep choosing each other. Lucas smiled. When did you get so wise? I had a good teacher. Emma yelled from the kitchen. Are you guys coming or what? The pancakes aren't going to make themselves. She's right, Lucas said, sitting up. Pancakes don't make themselves. Tragic design flaw. The worst. They got up and went to the kitchen together. Emma was already pulling ingredients from the fridge, making a mess, humming her octopus song. Evelyn helped her crack eggs while Lucas started the coffee. They moved around each other easily, a rhythm they'd developed over months of Saturday mornings just like this one. And as Evelyn stood there in Lucas's small kitchen, wearing his t-shirt, watching him make terrible pancakes while their daughter, because that's what Emma was becoming, their daughter, chattered about her upcoming marine biology presentation, she realized something. This was it. This was the life she'd been searching for without knowing it. Not perfect, not glamorous, not the kind of story that made magazine covers or inspired TED Talks. Just real, messy, human, and worth more than any empire she could have built alone. Later that afternoon, after pancakes and the aquarium and a movie they all fell asleep during, Evelyn drove back to her penthouse to grab some clothes. She stood in the massive space, all marble and glass and expensive emptiness, and tried to remember when it had felt like home. She couldn't. Her phone rang. Lucas. Hey, she answered. Hey, Emma wants to know if you're coming back for dinner. What are we having? Spaghetti, the overcooked kind you pretend to like. Evelyn smiled. I actually do like it. Liar. Okay, maybe, but I like who's making it. Smooth, very smooth. I learned from the best. So you're coming? Evelyn looked around her penthouse one more time, at the space that had represented everything she'd achieved, everything she'd sacrificed for, everything she'd thought would make her whole. Yeah, she said. I'm coming home. And she meant it. Because somewhere along the way, home had stopped being a penthouse overlooking Lake Michigan. It had become a 2-bedroom apartment in Logan Square with worn hardwood floors and a refrigerator covered in drawings, and a little girl who loved octopuses, and a man who'd asked her to dance when she'd forgotten how. That was home. And for a woman who'd spent 30 years chasing achievement, finally finding something she didn't have to earn felt like the greatest success of all.